Previously on Ditching the Split.
I don't know, I'm really scared.
Yeah, just drop it. Just put it down.
This looks insane. It's the building inspector. Yeah.
This is the life.
This is the life. Why is this so thick?
It smells so
It
bad.
smells horrible. Cool.
Beautiful.
It's gonna be so nice.
Yeah, I can't wait for the pumpkins.
Welcome everybody to an unusual episode of Ditching the Split. I wasn't gonna share an episode at all this week because we had another very slow week. What are you doing? But then I was thinking about it and I really just didn't want to go without an episode of Ditching the Split when there's actually so much that you guys haven't seen. We've been filming for 10 weeks, so we have a lot of progress and footage that you guys have never seen before. I know a lot of you have burning questions about this renovation. You guys want all the tea that we have been cutting out of our videos, so we're gonna get into the nitty-gritty, all the stuff that people want to know.
That's right.
We're gonna recap every episode, so this is gonna be a nice long video for you guys, and don't forget to like and subscribe, and we have another episode of Ditching the Split coming next week that you're not gonna wanna miss. I did share on my Instagram that in place of an episode of Ditching the Split today, we were going to do a backyard tour. This is going to be a backyard tour. It is not an episode of Ditching the Split, and I filmed that too, so you guys might get that as a bonus episode this week. And then back to your regularly scheduled program.
Hopefully.
The first episode of this series was called Bye Bye Brick. Genius title. Welcome to our exterior renovation. So in this episode, it was exactly that. We started removing the brick and disassembling the exterior of this house. Going into sharing the first episode of this series, I was super nervous. I had a lot of nerves before posting that first video because I wasn't sure how it was going to be received. We had actually shared a video on our channel months earlier explaining this renovation and what our vision was for it. I figured that subscribers who had seen that video would have at least like a understanding of what was going to be happening, but I knew that anybody who was seeing it on any other platform wasn't gonna get it. It's funny watching these episodes back because we lived it in real time, so it didn't seem as crazy as it is to go back and watch it now.
I've taken brick off houses before. Like if we were doing an addition off the back of a house or off the side of a house for a garage or something, obviously you would take the brick off because you're opening that wall up. It is done, it's the thing. It's in where we live, the brick is just like, it's a veneer, like a
Facade.
Facade, yeah. But there is double brick homes, or like around us. The older, like old homes, they were double brick, which a lot of you are referring to, where the brick is structural. But modern day, it's all wood frame.
How were you feeling going into sharing that first episode?
Fine.
In that very first episode, we reached our first issue, which was regarding the permit. So initially we had submitted our plan to have the porch extend across the very front of the house. And that was the drawings that we had been showing in our past videos when we were first talking about this project. But then there was a permitting issue, which we explained in that first episode, that didn't allow us to extend the porch as far as we wanted to based on the property line.
We have to maintain a certain setback from the property line if you're doing anything that's attached to your house, like a deck, a porch, an addition. There is ways around it. You can apply for a variance, but that takes, they told me, 6 months or longer, and it's thousands of dollars. So we probably wouldn't have even started our project yet if we had gone that route. It would have been probably next year. We would have started it, and there's a possibility that they could say no, and you still have to pay the application fee and you don't get that back. What we did is we just shortened the porch to the second post in and mirrored the gable, and I'm glad we did.
It still allows light to come in through that main front window and through the basement window, which is actually the window that you guys can kind of see it in this video. It didn't affect the light for the basement at all, but had we extended the porch across, it would have. A lot of you guys have questions about cost of things, how much everything's costing, and we will share a cost breakdown at the end of this series.
The permit was only like $350. Like, it's cheap to get a permit, really. Well, the drawings are what's expensive. The permit application is typically pretty cheap, depending on what you're doing, because it's based on construction value. If you're not doing the drawings yourself, you need someone who has a certificate so that they can stamp the drawings, because they're taking liability for that everything's up to code and they're putting their name on it, really.
In this episode, we then move on to digging the post holes for the new porch. We actually, you guys didn't know this, but we actually did do another post hole, hoping that we would be able to extend the porch as far as we did. So there was a whole extra hole that got dug that you guys didn't know about because we didn't find out until after the fact that we weren't allowed to extend the porch.
Yeah, we were still waiting on our permit. I've been talking to the lady that issues the permit, and she said any day now you're gonna get it. It's in final review. She was ready to issue the permit, and that's when a red flag came up. Wait, you guys are too close to the property line. It's not following the zoning. So that's why the extra hole was there. We just filled it back in.
In this episode, we then began picking out the stone. The plan was never to do stone on the house. We were initially just going to do siding. Fun fact, that rendering that you guys previously saw about how the house was going to look, we had designed it in the terms of adding the porch to the front and adding the gables and everything like that, but the actual finishes that we're using that rendering, we didn't pick. They were designed by an architect designer who was working alongside with us for this project. We always knew it wasn't going to look exactly like that image, but once we went to go look at stone, I just like stone.
Yeah, we can show the drawing that I sent him as the inspo that I drew up. And it's just black and white. It's on AutoCAD, so there was no finishes really picked. There was no lights, like nothing. It was just very basic. We didn't know whether we were going to do black windows, white windows, like what color siding. We didn't know anything. We left that up to him. It looked great. The rendering, like
yeah,
I
his
loved
rendering
it.
was beautiful for sure.
Yeah, as soon as I saw it, I was like, wow, because he did glass railing in it, and I had never even thought to do glass railing on the front of the house. But when I saw that, I was like, wow, like, so he did a really good job. Like,
For sure. And you guys always ask about that as well, as what the planning process was prior to starting ditching the split. It was that we worked with an architect designer who came up with the kind of visual of what it would look like. We did virtual walkthroughs, which is a service that he offered so that we could see it. But it was a lot of planning on our end prior to starting, getting measurements, drawing out plans, coming back to the drawing board. The whole ditching the split was never supposed to look the way that it is looking right now. The original ditching the split was not going to ditch the split. We were going to keep the split entry, and we were going to just basically redo the porch that we had already designed.
yeah, we were gonna take the brick off anyways. We were gonna do either stone siding, we weren't sure. But the current porch that we had was low down below the roof line. We were gonna widen it a little bit, raise it up so that the overhang and fascia and soffit all match the same height, taller columns, and I think we were gonna put a window above the door.
I think so too, yeah.
We're like, yeah, that's pretty cool. Like,
It was okay, but it wasn't really.
Yeah.
Neither one of us were really loving it. It still would have been a split entry home. In this video, we also start deconstructing the bay window, which a lot of you have loved to teach us that it's actually called a bow window.
yeah.
Good to know. That video certainly did open the door to conversation about how, depending where you live in the world, houses are built differently. It was actually this episode that led us to be deemed the cardboard house on TikTok. We had a lot of people telling us that our house is built out of cardboard and calling us the cardboard house. Episode 2 was called Pick a Door, Any Door. We start by removing part of the retaining wall, followed by removing and replacing the tent test, which was hidden behind the brick, removing and replacing the front window with the new window, and changing the front door. Oh gosh. The term cardboard house really started to pick up at this point once all the brick was down and you started replacing the tent test with plywood. Watching all this footage back of removing the front window and the front door and all the brick, it's clear to me now I absolutely should have been wearing steel-toed boots. Hindsight's 2020.
Yeah.
When we shared this episode vertically, all the comments were about how we should have installed a header above the front window and the front door.
It's always funny reading some of those comments. Like, I don't read all those comments because I really don't care. But some of them that it's a person claiming to have 20 years experience, they've renovated thousands of homes, this and that. There's no way a header would fit in there. If you just look, just even pause the video, there's 3 other windows on that wall. Where's the header? It's a large overhang. Okay, I understand if you have trusses nowadays, the truss on the outside wall sits really high because the code for insulation, it needs to be way thicker insulation. So any new home that's built, the trusses sit like a foot higher than the wall. That would be true, but this is an old home being renovated, and if you've been doing it for 20 years, renovating homes, you'd know that it's a stick framed roof. So as it comes down, it gets low. So the bottom of the soffit, there is like 14 inches of room to the top of the wall. That's why all the windows are up tight to the soffit, because the overhang, the roof comes down. So if you come inside the house, the windows are like that far below the ceiling, but they're touching the soffit outside. So
a little editing secret for you guys is usually when I share vertical videos, I will not give you all of the information in that one video because I know that it's going to lead to people asking questions. So I purposely did not show you guys the header going in. And it's just funny. Anyone who watches these long videos, you know that there obviously were headers put in place, but anybody who is just scrolling through, you know, TikTok or whatever, you see no header and you automatically think I should leave a comment saying no header. There you go. There's a little editing secret for you guys, a little movie magic. I feel stress watching this episode in particular because like we lived it. So we always knew what the outcome was going to be and what the house would eventually look like. We didn't have to trust the process as much as strangers seeing it for the first time did. But to watch it back and see that our house now has no brick on it, we had 2 front doors for a moment there, a
really
giant hole in the front. Remember, we had like the whole front was ripped open. Anyone driving by probably thought this looks nuts. Like, what are these people even doing to their house? This leads us into episode 3, which is called All Decked Out, and we start framing the new porch. I really like this episode because in the sit down sessions that we filmed after the fact, I had Ackley on me for the whole video. You guys would never know by watching this video, but this was actually one of our most expensive videos to film. The posts were $182 a piece. We had 3 of those posts. So between the posts and the beams that ended up framing out the porch, it cost $1,147.
that's for the 3 posts and the material for the 3 beams across the front.
Also in this video, we started installing additional windows. And so the windows and doors were collectively the most expensive part of this renovation so far. It was around $15,000 for the windows and door.
Yeah, it wasn't a door from Home Depot either.
Yeah, I don't even want to talk about it.
So our designer has to follow the Ontario Building Code, and that's why the footings and sonotubes that those posts sit on were so big. Yeah, that we could have used smaller if an engineer had, like a licensed engineer had done it, because they're allowed to change. It still has to follow the code, but they can sign off saying something is, if you do it this way, this will still work. Our designer isn't an engineer, so he has to follow the building code. So that's why we use 8x8s, because if you're supporting a floor and a roof, which the deck is a floor, you need a bigger post.
So those have to get stood up?
Yeah.
Holy cow. Holy cow. This was the episode where people could really start to see your carpentry ability, because prior to this, it was just all demolition.
Yeah, demo and replacing plywood, which it's like arts and crafts, really.
Right. How do you know how to do this?
In 2011, I guess, so 13 years ago, I started my carpentry apprenticeship as a co-op student, and we were framing houses for a home builder. So I did that, finished my co-op, continued my apprenticeship framing, and started doing more additions and renovations as well. And then I switched companies and we did all custom homes, which was great because it's not just cookie cutter. You learn a lot doing that. You learn a lot about the other trades because you're there when they're there. So I learned a lot kind of talking to them, seeing things that they were doing. So I went to school, got my carpentry license, my red seal. So I'm a journeyman carpenter. And then, yeah, I've been doing this for 13 years. So cool.
I just love when you talk about this. I just get so excited for you.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. Like it's a big deal.
And what about stuff you don't know how to do? How do you figure it out?
YouTube, Google. Just do a lot of research. Don't just watch 1 or 2 videos. Like you have to watch at least a dozen and just pick little bits from each one that's useful and seems right. And when you put them all together, all those videos are saying the same, some of the same things, you know that that's got to be right. And just research, like if you're using a certain product or doing something, go to their manufacturer's website, and there's always installation instructions there. Read through those, and then just kind of refer back and forth. Take your time, don't rush into it, and make sure you have as much information as you can before you start.
And if mistakes happen,
They happen. They're gonna happen no matter what. Like every video I've made mistakes, I know that. Like not all of them have been shown, but sometimes you get ahead of yourself and it happens. It's not a big deal.
I really like that episode. That was one of my favorite episodes to film and to edit. I really enjoyed that one. Episode 4 is called Raising the Roof, ? Were we raising the roof or were we taking the roof off? You find out very soon. Today we are on our roof. In this video, we remove the original chimney. We start adding a gable to the garage roof. We remove some more brick and install a new window on the side of our house. Fun fact, the chimney actually had scaffolding around it for 4 years.
I was going to reparge it and repoint it and fix it, but it was capped off. It wasn't being used for anything. And looking at the roof 4 years ago, I was like, okay, we're not gonna get more than 5, 6, 7 years out of this roof. So I thought, why go through the effort and the money to repair it properly? We're gonna be doing the roof, I would just take it down below the roof line. So I left the scaffold there and walked away.
What an eyesore. Then we start framing the new gable on the roof. And this was really nice because before the roof was all just hips, right? There was nothing architectural about it, is exactly what you say.
There's nothing architectural about it at all. It's just all hips and roof.
And then we found the mice in the ceiling.
Yeah, what are the odds that right where I cut a little square of plywood out because I had to put a post to hold the new ridge. Right where I cut it, I pulled the plywood and there's a mouse
mom and
there
her baby.
with her baby, yeah.
This was another episode where it was just your time to shine. You just fly through building the gable. It took a couple hours and you had the whole thing framed out. And then we ended up covering it with a tarp because it was calling for rain that night. So you guys didn't see it complete in that video. But yeah, you just fly through it and you're such a pro.
I couldn't believe you were carrying that plywood the way you were. I knew you were in the moment, but looking back, seeing the video, that you actually just grab it and pick it up and carry it over. Like, I'm very impressed because it's 1/2-inch plywood. So anyone who's moved 1/2-inch plywood, you know, it's got some weight to it. So I'm pretty proud of that. Like, I was surprised that you could do that.
I think this whole renovation, I think I've been surprising myself. It wasn't easy to lift it, but I just knew that I had to lift it.
It looks easy when you're doing it in the video though. That's what's crazy.
Thanks, babe.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Some gun show over here.
Oh yeah.
We then installed the new window, which is actually going to be, previously that was our living room, it's going to be our dining area. We'll talk more about it when we get to that part of the renovation down the road, but just adding in that extra light that comes in through that window, it's crazy. We have like no furniture in our house, and we've had no furniture in our house since right after Christmas. I gave our couch to my sister, and the rug is in the basement now, but like the main floor is pretty much empty besides the dining table. I don't even care. We have no furniture up there, but having that extra light, I feel so fulfilled. Next up is episode 5, which is called Trust the Process. Shout out to my sister who came up with that title. I was worried people weren't gonna get it and would think it was a spelling mistake, but a lot of people actually really liked it and thought it was punny, so.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
It is pretty good. I was most nervous to share this video. I told you guys I was nervous to share the first episode. The nerves were way worse for this video because even though people already knew now about the renovation and what we were doing, taking the roof off half of your house and documenting that process, not to add a second story, but to vault the ceiling. I just knew people were going to be a little confused about it. It was the craziest 1 week that we've ever had in this renovation. In fact, even looking back and rewatching this video, I'm like, gosh, I can't believe that wasn't even a full week. That was like 4 days of work to redo the whole roof. This looks insane.
So as we mentioned earlier, the roof was all hips. So where we wanted the vaulted area inside the home, it was a hip cottage style roof in that side of the house. So we would have had to reframe half of the roof anyways to extend the ridge and make it a gable on that wall. Regardless, that would have needed to be done. So there was a lot of extra framing that needed to go in. We would have had to put a ridge beam in, which would need a support on either end. And you have to carry that support down to the footings. So we would have had to cut open the new basement that we just finished, break up the floor, pour a footing, and put a post continuously up there. So the roof would have needed to get ripped open regardless, because we would have had to extend the ridge and build a gable on that wall, add rafters, and then all the rafters that would have stayed would have had to get doubled up with a larger rafter, which is an expense. The beam would have had to have been engineered. That's an expense. That's a couple $1,000s to have the engineer come up with the design and do all that and stamp it. Just the amount of work, it would have cost more and been more work to leave half the roof and kind of repair it to a state that the vault would work, compared to just ripping it off and putting new trusses.
We actually had somebody stop by while we were working on the roof. At this point, the roof was completely open, and she stopped by to ask if we were vaulting the ceiling, and we said yes. And she was saying how she had just had a company do that at her house, and they charged $300,000 to redo that living area of her home and make that ceiling vaulted, which is nowhere near, I don't even think this whole renovation, the whole house will cost that much.
No, everything we've done, like every project, everything we've done to this house won't even cost close to that much.
That's right. There was also the mess of insulation in the ceiling. You guys saw as soon as we opened up the roof, a whole assortment of insulation. And we pulled one blanket out of the ceiling. There's still one blanket in the ceiling, which when we take the plaster down above us on the main floor, we'll pull that blanket out then.
Unfortunately, yeah, I was trying to get all of the insulation out of the attic before we close it up, because then that just avoids that mess of falling on you when you're taking down the plaster. There was so much, we didn't have enough time. Like, we had to get moving and get the trusses
It
up
was
there.
filling the dumpster. Like, just that tiny little bit that we had almost filled the dumpster entirely, and we still had more demo to do. I cut it out of the video, but we did have a live mouse run out while we were installing those trusses. It like ran out right past my foot as we were standing on the roof. We've had so much help from neighbors for this renovation. Our neighbors and they're our friends now, helping with pushing the trusses up, and they've just been a really big help during this renovation, and everyone we talked to has been super supportive and helpful, and wanting to offer tarps when it was going to rain. You guys saw that in the series.
Oh, thank you.
And then the little fiasco with the roofers happened.
We followed up a few times, never heard anything, and it is what it is.
Yeah.
That's fine.
Life goes on.
You didn't really see much of it in the video, but Sabrina stripped almost that whole roof. The neighbor was helping, so like the two of them did it, but I stripped almost none of the shingles. I did the framing and like the carpentry work, but a lot of the labor, which someone has to do it, that's what you're doing.
You know what's funny is I had a lot of footage of me up on that roof stripping the shingles. I chose not to include it in the video. I think maybe there's like a couple clips of it, but I cut a lot of it out because I didn't want to stress my mom out because she was gonna watch it. Yeah, and because she already knew that I didn't want to get on the roof in the first place, but then obviously I got on the roof and like I wanted to help you. But anyways, I got up on the roof and it was fine. I just didn't feel like I belonged there. Episode 6 is called Dream Porch Progress, where we start framing our new porch. We install some soffit and fascia and started strapping the ceiling for what was to come. First things first, the building inspector did stop by.
The beam on the outside, oh, here he is.
It's the building inspector.
Uh-oh, coming to shut us
We're
down?
in big trouble, not clickbait. Contrary to what a lot of people seem to think, he really did stop by because we called him.
Yeah.
We wanted him to stop by, not for the video, but we had questions about the roof after everything happened with that. So he did really stop by, and our building inspector is great. Shout out to him. Joist hangers were used, which is another thing people were asking about online who watched the vertical version.
Yeah, the ledger that's attached against the wall where the joists are, there is in fact joist hangers there.
That just goes right back to the fact that I don't show everything in a 30-second video. We film from usually Monday to Thursday. We'll film our like sit down little narration on Friday. So in total, I say we film it's like 8 hours of filming each day compiled into a 24-minute video, and then cut down even smaller to just be like the main points for a 30-second video. So you guys don't see everything if you only watch us vertically. So Also in this episode, we start removing the aluminum siding from the back of the house. So like I said, a popular question was how long do we film for? And it's usually a full week of filming, and then I sit down and edit Friday, Saturday to post on Sunday. Also in this episode, we got a lot of questions about the windows under the porch, because at this point the porch is now framed, so you can tell that there's not as much light coming in through the basement windows. Those two basement windows that are under the porch are our garage. So we have the garage on the main level with the porch foundation, and then two garages down below. We don't get as much light in those front windows because the sun comes from the back. So it wasn't until end of the day that we even got light in the first place. But we also have a window on the other side of the house in the garage. Like there's no shortage of light. This is the dream right here.
You can't get this anywhere.
Episode 7 is called Unfinished Business. I didn't know what else to title this video, to be honest. I was on ChatGPT, like, what do I call a video where we do a lot of random stuff? In this video, we tie up the loose ends, we wrap up the stone columns, we remove more aluminum siding, we replace part of the roof from the roofing fiasco, and then start adding the stone across the front and find a bat hidden in the wall. Starting with the bat, I just want to clarify, we didn't touch the bat. Can you imagine?
Yeah.
Some people online thought that we must have brought the bat in to raise it as our own and then set it free again.
As soon as I saw it, I walked away.
Yeah, we just left it. This episode was a little bit more repetitive. Like I said, it was tying up loose ends for soffit and everything like that. So you're just getting a lot of little details done in this episode. I don't think that there was much to report that you guys didn't already see with that. Episode 8 is called Out with the Old. In parentheses, so many updates.
Ooh.
I did that because there was a lot of updates in that video, and I didn't want to just title it Out with the Old when there was a lot to look for in that video.
Yeah, so much.
We started off by installing our new cedar ceiling, and then we also installed the patio sliding door and the new kitchen window. The cost of the cedar ceiling, I'll tell you guys right now, we bought it from a local sawmill. It was $2,100 for all that material, and it was a joke. When we said that we were gonna paint the ceiling white, it was a joke.
Smells good. You can always paint it white,
And we unboxed our new comfy chairs.
I love those chairs. I thought, you know what, let's not set them up until the porch is ready. I'm so glad we did.
It's been great, even sitting on plywood every day.
Love it.
We changed out the patio door and the kitchen window for a new door and new window. The sliding door was a little bit of a mistake. We didn't want it to open the way that it ended up opening, but we were in the process of installing it and didn't have 6 more weeks to wait for a new door to come in because the guys were coming to do the gutters. We needed all the soffit and fascia done. So we installed it. In the end, I think it's gonna be fine. It was just a little bit of a mix-up. That also, everybody always asks with this renovation, when's it gonna be done? And we're aiming to have the exterior wrapped up by mid-September maybe. And then we'll move inside. I think we are gonna take a little bit of time off, maybe get ahead a bit with the interior before we start posting again. And then we'll move on to the interior, and then that's gotta be done by Christmas.
The interior is gonna go quick.
I was singing a lot in this episode. Yesterday's gone, we gotta keep moving on. I sing in every episode, but I always cut it out to spare you guys having to listen to that. What's something you always do in the episodes that I have to cut out?
What about a bottom?
Yeah, Andrew says, what about a bottom all the time?
What about a bottom?
Which is in reference to that video of the guy being interviewed, and he was like, how many sides are on a triangle? And he says five, and he goes, what about, and he was like, no, it's 3. And he goes, well, what about a bottom?
It's 3. But yeah, close enough. What about the bottom?
Episode 9 is called Not All It's Cracked Up to Be. We start off with cracking some concrete, removing the original walkway to widen it, and then start building the new front stairs. This was a busy week, but a very fun week. It was a lot happening, and we got all that concrete removed from the walkway. We started laying out the new walkway.
So some people were asking, why didn't you use your tractor to lift up the concrete? The tractor has a lift capacity of just around 1,000 pounds. So I tried in a few different spots to pick it up and it wouldn't budge. The concrete was so thick, and surprisingly, it was a lot, it's heavy. So we took it to the landfill, they crush it and recycle it, and they weigh you in and out every time. In total, it was over 12,000 pounds of concrete.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
And then we add the doggy paw prints into the concrete for the new stairs. That's really fun. I'm glad that we did that. And We love our dogs. You guys see them in every video, and I get a lot of messages from people asking for specifically wanting to see segments on the dogs, like more dog content.
Okay, well, come here.
Okay, come here. You want to be in the video?
Aspen.
In case you guys don't already know, Aspen is the smaller one. She's the one who's a little bit more of an independent dog, and she doesn't appear as much in the videos because she's a true dog. She plays with her toys. She enjoys being outside. This is also Andrew's little girl.
Yeah, she's mine.
Ackley is the older one. He's gonna be, he's 9, he'll be 10 next March, and he was a rescue from the SPCA. So we say that he was a human in another life, which is why he always likes to be involved with the renovations. He stands right next to the power tools, doesn't even care. He wants to be involved. He's site supervisor. He is not a true dog. He doesn't like to be outside the way that she does. He doesn't play with toys. He prefers humans. He doesn't like other dogs. We'll wrap this up with episode 10, which is called Attention to Detail, which is where we start on the fun details, framing out the stairs, trimming out the columns, and wrapping the posts and beams in the trim board. This whole episode was only filmed over about 2 days, which is very different for all the other episodes we've been filming, but at this point things are starting to slow down, hence why you guys are seeing this video today. And we were awaiting material, and we just couldn't really do that much. Plus we have lives outside of renovating as well. So we just had a really busy week at the time of filming that episode where we just couldn't work on the house that much. But even so, what we did get done, it's still productive. It's just like we compare everything to that 1 week of working on the roof.
I know everything just seems slow, but as of today, we're still waiting for siding. It came in, we went to pick it up, and unfortunately it was the wrong color. So there was a little mix up there. Hopefully we get it this week.
Yeah.
We should, and we can get started on that. So you guys will see the siding, you'll see the product we're using, and start getting it done on the front of the house, wrapping that up, and we'll see about decking.
Yeah, it's all the finishing touches now that we're kind of waiting on, all the stuff that really, it's like the grand finale. I feel like we're just approaching it all of a sudden.
Yeah.
So yeah, and then we'll be doing landscaping as well. We've got plans to landscape. Landscaping and gardening is all we really care about. We like renovating too, but in the big scheme, we would always rather be landscaping or doing gardening and stuff like that. So we have a lot of plans for that as well. I had you guys on Instagram write in a couple questions when we last second decided to film this video, literally like less than 12 hours ago.
Yeah.
And of course, the most popular comment we saw was about cost and if we can share a cost breakdown. We absolutely will. I don't know if you guys will get a cost breakdown for this whole renovation because there's a lot of components to it that if you were trying to renovate your split level, you're not going to be doing all the, like you may not need to take your roof off, like all those kind of things.
Yeah, and just the amount of material might differ depending on your square footage and the size.
Yeah, but we do like to be transparent about costs. I think it's helpful for people to know, so we will share that.
Even just the style of window that you want. We went with a little more expensive, like style of window. There's certain, like costs vary like crazy.
Yeah.
And especially on locations too.
A couple people ask, what's something you did yourself but you wish you hired out on?
I wish I didn't hire out on things.
Oh no.
No, like there's nothing. The stone was a no-brainer. I wouldn't have done as nice of a job as they did. Thankfully, it was my dad and his friend, so it's not like we hired a company. It was 2 people that obviously we trust.
Don't trust anybody.
I'm looking into the future. The one thing that I will regret not hiring out is removing the ceiling and the insulation, the demo.
Oh,
the interior
yeah.
demo is, I cannot stand doing demo inside. Outside, I'll rip stuff apart, no problem. Inside, the mess, the noise, the dust.
It's gonna be a lot.
I don't like getting dirty in general, and probably we're gonna be doing drywall ourselves, so that's something you'll regret.
Yeah. The most popular question, is this your forever home?
I'm gonna say no.
We get asked all the time about whether this is our forever home because historically in our videos, I have said that this is not where we intend to live forever, but then you see us doing a renovation this large and you're probably like, what the heck, if you're not gonna live there forever, what's the point? So I get it, because I would say that we weren't gonna live here forever. I still think that forever is a long time to live anywhere. We moved out of our hometown, so our family and a lot of our friends don't live near us. So in our 20s, that was fine, but like as we're getting older, I think we're gonna wanna be closer to family and stuff like that. Or maybe they'll move closer to us, I don't know. I just think forever is a long time to live anywhere. We have no plans to sell this place or move anywhere right now. In fact, since doing the exterior renovation, I've loved this house more than I ever have. Like I said, we have no furniture upstairs and I still just feel so fulfilled. I think that pretty much concludes this little special episode of Ditching the Split. I hope you guys have enjoyed it and it's been a long episode and satisfied you guys.
Thank you to all the dedicated followers and subscribers that look forward to these videos. It means a lot. It's really exciting for us to share it with you guys and know that it's being seen and appreciated. It's a lot of hard work.
Yeah.
And we do see all the nice comments. And we're working on responding to most of them, but it's hard to stay on top of everything, but we do appreciate it. And
yeah, we really do. We feel very fortunate to have a really supportive group of people who watch these videos and are enjoying this series. And I see your DMs all the time of people who really look forward to every single week, which is just crazy. We've been posting on YouTube now since I think we started in like 2021. So the fact that even like 10 people watch any of these videos means a lot, and we just really appreciate it. So
very grateful.
Very, very grateful, yeah. We are gonna see you guys next week for another episode of Ditching the Split, and possibly a bonus episode this week of the backyard tour for everybody that I promised would get to see a backyard tour. Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, thanks for watching. Bye.
Bye.